many of you have been doubling over with laughter as the biased press sets up the false narrative that DOGE isn't being transparent about the waste, fraud, and abuse it's uncovering across government?
JJ.
On DOGE and the fraud claims, Elon Musk in the Oval yesterday gave us some information on that. We're just wondering if there's some proof, evidence. Is the White House willing to share evidence of those fraud claims, or can Elon Musk come to the briefing room and share material evidence of what he's talking about?
Sure, I would love for Elon Musk to come to the briefing room. That's why we had him go to the Oval Office yesterday, where I think he provided great answers. He was speaking in layman's terms, speaking common sense to all of you in the media, but also to Americans at home. But I would say especially to all of you in the media, because I think it's a real fallacy that there's this alleged lack of transparency when it comes to DOGE.
Let me get this straight. The same biased press that allowed a mentally incapacitated figurehead to rule over us unquestioned for 4 years, who not only didn't question Joe Biden's obvious mental decline, but worked to hide it from the American people, is now pretending that DOGE isn't being transparent? Look, with no due respect to you folks in the press corps, you people tried to pull off one of the biggest cons in American history on us. You are the last people who should be lecturing anybody about transparency. As to the openness of the Trump administration, DOGE is posting their findings on X accounts and on the Department of Government Efficiency website. So the transparency is there. And in my opinion, it's that transparency that has the anti-American press so up in arms. They've been working so hard to prevent Americans from learning the truth about our own government. And their propaganda house of cards is collapsing under the weight of DOGE. Fake news goes anti-American. That's my focus in today's preamble. The conduct of the biased press has gone from being, stenographers for the Democrats and liars against Republicans and conservatives, to the majority of the leftists in the press setting themselves in direct opposition to the America Last agenda and the reckoning so many Americans deserve after everything the America Last coalition put us through. In an astonishing and now deleted tweet, CNN's White House correspondent Caitlin Collins tweeted out a fundraising site for the defense of the alleged New York assassin, Luigi Mangione, on her X page. One wonders about the journalistic value of reporting such a thing, but ethically, there's a line between reporting that a site has been launched and promoting the site on an alleged journalist's social media page. We know her conduct meets CNN standards because there are none over there. They've been the home of little Jimmy Acosta for 17 years after all. But what about the standards of the White House Correspondents Association? Does Ms. Collins' conduct meet their standards? And speaking of no ethical or journalistic standards, the folks over at CBS Fake News, an operation that profits under the umbrella of freedom of speech and freedom of the press contained in the First Amendment to the Constitution, has decided to use that freedom to propagandize their audience. Elon Musk is calling out what he classifies as lies from CBS's 60 Minutes in an effort to create sympathy for government workers with apparently no care for the vast majority of Americans who are soaked in taxes to pay for those government workers. 60 Minutes made the claim that these poor government workers lost their ability to pay for childcare, health care, and other essentials, quote, overnight. X Community notes, and Elon Musk pointing out that these workers have been offered 8 months of pay and benefits. That's not overnight. It's bad enough that CBS Fake News appears to be apologists for massive government waste. But CBS wasn't done, folks. 60 Minutes thought it would be cool to follow German police as they went on a raid. Were they going after drug pushers? No. Were they going after international human traffickers? No. Were the German police going after some of the rape gangs that politicians welcomed into their country? No. CBS Fake News and 60 Minutes were excited to cover a raid on a citizen. Their crime? Posting what the government considered to be a racist meme online. They busted in, seized this guy's phone and his laptop, and CBS was there. Given their coverage of Germany's abandoning free speech, you can imagine how the head honchos at CBS felt when Vice President J.D. Vance went to the Munich Security Conference, held up a mirror to Europe, a continent that has undertaken direct attacks on human freedom that would have made the Third Reich jealous.
A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility.
That's right. In the UK and across Europe, you can be jailed if your silent prayer may cause someone to pause and think about not slaughtering their baby in the womb. Because in Europe, apparently, the slaughtering of children in the womb is the laudable thing to do. And preserving life, silently praying for life, well, that's a crime. Well, Vance's protestations were attacking some of the things that apparently CBS fake news believes are sacrosanct, like slaughtering babies in the womb, prohibiting public prayer, and of course, the denial of free expression. That led to this jaw-dropping conversation between one of CBS News' main left-wing propagandists and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views.
Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
Yes, history shows that Rubio is right. Once Hitler took over in Germany, there was no free speech, there was no free expression, there was only an unrelenting, spirit-crushing totalitarian system that didn't allow dissent. There was only devotion to government, the government of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Oddly, this same kind of system that so many in the left-wing press want you to burden you and your family with, a government that is in complete control over you. Margaret Brennan's claim that free speech led to the Holocaust is the same intellectual diarrhea that blames your right of self-defense for gun violence. Leftists never stop targeting your rights, and they'll use any excuse or provable falsehood like free speech led to the Holocaust to steal those rights from you. Now, we asked CBS News if the company fully supports Margaret Brennan's claim that free speech is what led to the Holocaust. Not surprisingly, we've not heard back. Talk about lack of transparency. I've never been a fan of bias in the left-wing press. Well, left-wing or right-wing bias. We opinion hosts rely on factual information presented dispassionately to form our opinions about the news of the day. The majority of the press is a huge obstacle to that endeavor, as most of them have devolved into leftist propagandists who are not looking out for you and your family. Now you have some sterling examples to show your friends as to why so many in the left-wing press can no longer be trusted. Folks, I thank God for my wonderful wife, my kids, my country, the greatest nation ever. And Americans like you who believe in the truth, the Chris Salcedo Show will never stop fighting for you.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.